Okay, guys. So welcome to the third session of the Revit or your practical Revit. Okay, so we left off from the uh, creation of the wall and then linking up to the roof. Okay, so first off, while you guys are loading, so typically when it comes to, real life scenario lah, we actually don't get to, usually you won't get to create a new project. You might be working on a project. So, while you guys are loading, just to show you guys, so here, if you go to manage, and then if you are not sure what this project, the units are using, you can actually look at here on the project unit. So you click on this, it will actually shows you what is the unit that's being used in our this project. So basically by right, all our if you are in Asian, you most probably be using metric system lah, which you can see here in kg, mm, kilometers per hour, and then meter cube. So only if you are working with in the future, for your info, if you are working with the US or the Philippines, then they might still be using imperial, which is feet and inch for the length, and also pounds for the weight. So just for you guys to know lah, if you are working when it comes to practical, if you're not sure what's going on, so go to manage and then go to project unit. If you click on it, you'll have all of this to be seen. Okay, it's just for extra info lah. Okay, so moving on. So here, if you actually look at when we go to floor level 2, we actually notice that our grid line here is missing. This is around. So what happens is, most probably on the other viewpoint, the grid line is not long enough. That's why it's not shown in other viewpoint. So if you go to north, you notice that our grid is just below here. So we actually need to pull up this grid line to above this line so that it can be shown on our floor plan here. So if you go to our east, you notice that our grid line A to F is here. And then if you go to west by right, it should also be the same. So if you go to south, we encounter the same problem, which is 1 to 6, our grid line is beneath here. So if you go to level 2, you'll notice that our grid line for 1 to 6 is missing. So what we can do is, we don't have to do for both sides. If we just change it for here by clicking on either one of them, you'll notice that here, either you go to north view or south view, here and here, because they are facing the opposite direction. You can once you click on this, you'll be shown this dotted line, and then you have this lock sign. So this is telling us that when we move it, then we'll move the whole thing together. So let's just drag it up, and then by right we should be shown all the, yeah. So just tidy it up a bit, and then we drag it a bit longer so that every place is covered. So we check this here for here, and then up to here. So you notice that once we change for the north, the south will automatically change because it's just the opposite viewpoint. And then we check again here. So this way, now we check everything is in order. You notice that we have all our grid line being shown here and here. So this is what happens. Sometimes when you create something and if it's not shown, you need to go to different elevation to find out what is the problem. So give you a minute to try to pull up all this one so that you can see all your grid line. Okay, so let us continue. So in our going back to our ground level, in our notes, there's actually a portion where we have the creation of a curtain wall. So instead of to create a curtain wall, we actually just click on the wall. If you scroll down by right, it should be available here. Okay, so to showcase it to you, we go to the 3D view. So here, still selecting this wall. So if we were to change this to storefront, then some error here. Okay, just cancel it. So if we will change it to, never mind. Let's use this. Okay, let's use this. Should be able to do it. So we just delete the element, and then we will have this curtain wall. So what this curtain wall is all about is that this is actually just pieces of glass with steel frame above it. So it's actually a non-structural exterior. So I repeat that again. To create a curtain wall, we just change our this wall to here, and then you might see some errors. So we just delete away the element. So give you a minute to do it. Give you a few seconds to do it. So just click on the wall, one of the wall that we have modified, and then you just change it to storefront. You encounter some error, so just delete away the element. Okay, so continue on before I overwrite my file. Let me save as a new project. So this is C. Just give it a save. So here the curtain wall that we created is actually already created lah, based on with all this mullion. So if we want to specify a unique custom curtain wall where all these are not the same lah, meaning at not this pre-made distance, so we can actually change it to here. You click it to curtain wall, then yeah, so it's here. We just delete lah any elements that's not required, and then we can see that we have a curtain wall which is here. So from there, if we actually want to create our this here, so what we can do is we can create our curtain grid, meaning we set the grid where we can create our mullion for our this curtain wall. So for example, I click on this, and then I can actually zoom into here and create my own grid line. Let's say for example 2 meter here, 2 meter here, and then let's say a 3 meter here, and then 2 meter here, 2 meter here, and so on lah. And then remaining here and here. So we created something like this. We can actually also created our horizontal also this way. So midpoint of a curtain panel, we click on it, we created our own customized model. So to change all this grid into that, we just click on this, and then we click on this, and we can click on each and every one of them lah, the grid. This way we have it exactly the same as what we have on the other side. So this way we can create our own custom curtain wall lah. So yeah, So I repeat it again. So here, you just change this to a curtain wall, and then that is actually a blank curtain wall where we need to use the grid, curtain grid, which we can determine. And then after we determine where our grid line is, then we can use this mullion to convert our grid line into this frame. So give it a try. Okay, so going back to our floor plan ground level here. So when it comes to putting in walls and doors, it's pretty straightforward lah. So if you want to have doors and windows, we just click, and then we can essentially determine where we want the door to swing. So let's say, for example, I put a door here, and then it's swinging inside into our house. So click on this door, and then we can actually, by maneuvering it close to either on the inside of the wall or outside, we can actually see how we can position the door. But once you click on it, we can still modify it. So if you see the this arrow here, this is basically telling us we can actually, by the click on it, we can force the door to swing outside. So by right, we want a door that swing inside lah. And then if we don't like it, due to some design where you want to maximize the space, so you want to have your door opening facing towards the wall. So this way it will be a good design lah. Meaning, when people are walking towards, you don't swing and hit someone. Or so this way, at least you're maximizing the space of your room. So this is why sometimes the design, you'll notice that in your house, the door will always try to be close to the wall. Okay, so this is like a design lah. So try to put in a door for your model. Okay, so for a door, when it comes to the main door, we typically will want to have a more grand, better door lah, instead of just a single flush door. So maybe we can have, let's see, maybe we can load more. Okay, let me escape first. So you want to load more of the nicer doors. So what we can do, we go to insert, we go to load family. So from there we can actually load more, load different types of door that we want to have in our model. So for me, I put it in my desktop, and then I have my Revit here, my files. So this UK is a zip file lah, which you can find in the Google Classroom. So you click on it, then we want to load our door. So we pick on the external door. Then from there, let's pick a nicer door. Okay, so let's pick something like this. So any door lah, doesn't necessarily have to be the same. So in my case, I pick this. So uh, this door that I clicked just now from here is already added into my this project. So if I click on my door here, I can actually change it to the component which I have just loaded just now, which is this. So I just click on it, then I change the existing door towards this. So drag it over to provide some clearance, and then I flip it over. So I want my door to open into my house. So give it a try. Try to load the component, load a family of from the UK folder that you have downloaded, and then change the existing door to this new door which you have loaded. Then you should have something like this. Pan to it, you'll be able to see this. Okay, so let's say for example, I don't want my door to be next to the curtain wall because that is like more of exposed features. So I move it over to the right side, and then I ensure that I got around 400 So having the door next to this wall is okay, which is something like this. If it's zero, it's still okay. But this is depending on design If you really want to save the space, having the door straight next to this is alright as long as this door can be opened and closed properly. Okay, so next we want to have window. So for window, if we look at this here, existing one, we can pick and choose whichever window that we want. So same case, if you want to have a fixed window here, let's say with a distance of 500, we can put one here. Or if you want to have other type of window, by right, we also can load it over here So we can have different window that we can load into our this project. Okay, let's load a window bay casement here. So with that, Let's see. So we can still load a big one over here. So let's say we have it here, one, two, and three. And then for the remaining area, let's continue to have a few more windows. So just drag and drop a few more windows, let's say over on this side of the building. One, two, three, four, and five. So what we should end up with is something like this, with a lot of windows. So try to put windows. Okay, let me change to a smaller window. Okay, just change all of this to a smaller window. Okay, so this way we end up with something like this. So try to work it out to get something like this. Okay, so here is all right, looking all right. Here, this also looks all right. So if we look down to here, let's say the window that we created is too low. So actually we can change the height either by clicking on it. We can modify the height directly here. So let's say I want this to be at least 1.5 meter. I change it, it will be up here. So for the remaining of this here, we can just change it over here also, and we'll get, and all of this will move up. So yeah, if you look from the ground level, we actually are not able to see what is the height of our window, but we can actually modify either the sill height or the head height. So sill height is the bottom of the window, meaning the distance, and then the head height is the top of the window to the level 2. So try and change this window height. Okay, so if we go to our east view, then we can actually do something special lah. So in this Revit, we can actually use the align dimension tool to actually try to equalize all of this window. So yeah, this is one of the special things. This is not just only for windows, but if you were to have it in our interior of our house, maybe we have a window and then also a door, we can actually equalize all the component. So to showcase it here, so what we do, we go to annotate, So we got a few windows. Let's say Okay, so let's say they are all at the same height, but we want them to have in the same distance. So what we can do here in this software is we can actually create a dimension on the same side of our window. So let's say I pick the right edge of it, and then I create one side here, and then using the same, let me think. Okay, this. So using the same side here to here, then here to here, and then here to here, here to here. Mm, okay, linear. I think we better use for linear. Here to here, here to here. So we click on it. So yeah, this will be better lah. Okay, so what we do is we actually need to click a line on just one single side of all these, and then we can actually create multiple dimension, as you can see here. And then if you were to click on here, you'll notice that all of these, they have a lock sign. So what this means is if we lock it, then essentially cannot move this lah. Meaning here and here the distance is locked. So we don't want it, we unlock. So then at top here, there's actually a EQ sign. So what this means is that we essentially link, we have essentially created a dimension that is linking on each one of these window side. And then if we were to check on this EQ, what it means is equal distance. So equal distance. It will create an equal lah. So we click on it, then they are all of equal distance, dimension equality. So we uncheck it again, and then based on the dimension just now, the length, we all these spaces, the four spaces is actually evenly distributed. So in this case, 2000, 2040 lah. So this is one of the thing that we can do to make our life simple lah. If you want to have something at a specific height and then also at specific distance, we actually do not need to uh, adjust it manually everything. So we can use something like this. So give it a try. I repeat it again to make, okay, let me remain this the same. Say to make all this, let's say, to be equal, what we do is we click on the align, and then we pick on only one of the edge of the side of the window. So if you click here, make sure for this window we also click the same, and then go to the next window, we click the same, and then here and here. So we move it to the top, and then we have an EQ sign here. We click on it. Then here, the first and the last window with reference to the whole distance, it will equalize the distance. So we uncheck it again, we get back 2040. So give it a try. Okay, save it first. Okay, so we basically created almost all of our important component lah. Let's say so-called important component. We learn through almost all of the important component to actually create a house. So for the remaining, let's say for a house, we should just let's create a few internal wall. Let's say from grid 5 to grid E, and then let's say we close this place off. Then we create additional inner wall. Let's say we want to have another wall here to here, and then close it over to here. So just like that, expose. And then let's see, create another here. So we create something like this, and then we have the remaining wall all the way over. Yeah, this one you just put as you like lah. Don't have to follow 100%. So I'm trying to make some room. Okay, let's say we put another wall here, and then another. I think we just covered the whole thing lah. Then we have another. Let's say this one, and this one is also covered up. So we actually created a few walls here, and then what we can do is we can put in additional door so that we have access to all this area. So let's say for example we have it here, and then we have another door here, then we have a door here, then let's have another door here, and then we have door here. So let's create a small little let's see, so we create a small little room, let's say from here to here, so-called toilet lah. So we put a door here also. Okay, so here we can actually edit the dimension if you are not happy with it. So for example lah, just showcase here, so about 1.2 meter, it seems a bit small, so let's give it to about 1.5 meter. Okay, then let's have another one here also, 2 meter and 1.8. Then we create a door here and here. Okay, so let's say so-called this is our toilet, and then a big living area. Then yeah, just good enough lah. So we create a few partition in our wall. So this one is actually to showcase how a real building might look like. So just creating it accordingly. Yeah. So let's say this. Let's say we have another room here. Then here to here. Okay. So yeah, we actually essentially created like just a room lah for our ground level. So for level one, this one we just maintain it lah. So just to showcase what I want to do further from this. So from there, we can actually create, or let's see. Okay, so from there, we actually want to tag our room. So this way, once we tag our room, we can actually create basically a schedule lah. So when it comes to this sort of BIM software Revit, what is important is that we actually want to create a schedule, meaning all the component that we do, once we create it, which is equivalent to real life model, we want to create a schedule so that we can build with all this schedule. Because from this model, we can actually have all our component inside it. For example, our window, our wall. So all of these, we can basically create a schedule, and then the software is actually smart enough lah, in terms of if we were to create all these components here. Let's say, for example, our door here. So this is what it means by parametrics modeling. So if we have a window here, this software is actually smart enough in terms of once this component is here, that they are occupying a space, they will actually remove away the so-called concrete in this wall. So that's why when it comes to doing a schedule based on all of this, then it actually helps us out a lot in terms of we don't have to really go and try to calculate everything manually. Okay, so let's see. To here, let's go back to our ground level. So with all this room that I have created, I can actually uh, tag or even separate the room so that we can create uh, so-called legend detailing lah, on what all of this is all about. Okay, so let's see. Uh, okay, should I use this? Okay, so let's use this. So under architectural, we use this room. So we can actually place this in a room. So we place this in a room. Essentially, we are trying to give all this space uh, a name. And then here, okay. So all this space, we actually have a tag to it. So we can actually change it to, let's say this is a entrance, and then we can have this as a uh, leisure area. So we're actually basically tagging this, and then we can have this living area. Then let's say this is a so-called D area lah. So we have this bathroom. Two. This is gonna be our bathroom one, and then we can have this that, let's say, a mid room, and then here will be, let's say, a kitchen. Okay, so this one, let's see. So I just specify this as a hallway lah. So we can actually basically do a tagging for all this area. But then actually here, with just this tagging, we are actually not showing a lot of information. So here, from architectural, from this room, we can tag all of this room. So we just do that. So yeah. So because here we have our staircase. So although we are not separated by a wall, we can actually use this room separator to draw a separation line so that we can determine whether or not what is this area. So to do that is pretty simple. we use our this room separator. Click on it, and then we can specify this area. Okay, do it wrongly. Okay, so I just drag it from here to here. Then it should be okay. We put this into here. Then by right we can separate this out. Yep. So just creating a line here, we can actually separate this out lah, and we can have our hallway. Okay, so yeah, with this room separator, we just draw a line. Then this way, our this creation of our room, we do not need to have our this staircase will not be included when we specify this location. So we can actually move this around to here. So not necessary we have to put it there lah. So try to create some rooms, and then if you cannot follow, then never mind lah. So yeah, try to create some rooms. Try to break this out into rooms, and then create our using this tool here under architecture rooms, and then room separator where we want to separate out our this staircase. Then try to create as I have here. I'll give you quite a long time lah. Let me give you around 2-3 minutes to try to get something like this on your site also. Okay, so with this, actually, if we have such view, it's actually a bit confusing. So by right lah, best practice lah, we want to create a lot of view. So what we can do is we can actually just duplicate it, and then we will actually left with this plain view. So this way, whenever we want to modify anything, we will know that this, I mean, we have a clear view of this without all the detailing. So we can actually rename this with, let's say, room marking, and then we rename this. Yes, okay, this is a problem. Okay, so let's not rename this like this. Okay, what we can do is we rename this by right lah. We should do this here with room marking. So this way we know this is a duplicate view. Okay, although we already have this, never mind. So what we can do is we can actually from here we can actually go to annotate. Then you can actually color fill all this room that we have created. Okay, let me give it a try. Here, rooms names. Okay, it's not available here. So with all this, since I've already created here, and then here don't have the room marking, so never mind. Just actually, for best practice, we should create a new view so that there's not too many stuff on just one single view here. But never mind, since we already created here, so what we can do is we go to here, annotate, and then with this color field, we can actually make all of this room that we have designated into colorful lah, colorful drawing. So let's just change this to the same thing, bathroom and bathroom, to showcase how this will look like when we try to use the color field. So we have a few of the room which is the same, this one and this one. So by right, when we try to automatically color it, this drawing, because this is a Revit software, BIM software, so it's very colorful. So we click on this annotate, then we have this color field, click on it, drag drop it. So what we want is we want to change this space type to room, and then we want to change the color scheme to name. So we click OK, then they will showcase us a very nice drawing on our list. So we'll be given a room legend, and then based on this different room, we'll be given a color scheme. So give it a try. Okay, so here, then drag drop select room and room and name. So sort by room and name. Okay, so here, if you are actually not happy with the color, we can actually edit the color scheme. So in case we don't want this to be our bathroom, we don't want it to be this so-called green, we can actually change it to, let's say, a color red. So we click OK, we click OK, then this here becomes red. So it's essentially lah, up to us to change or to play around with the colors lah, as we like. Okay, so from there on, uh, because this is Revit, so we actually want to make sure all our components we can come up with a schedule. But just with this room tag, we can actually play around to display more information. So here, before we go to tagging to all the elements, let's have a look at this here first. So here, we notice that it's actually not giving us a lot of information. So what we can do here is we click on this, then we go to edit type. We can actually show the volume and area of our room type. So we select OK for this, then we are actually showcased on this. Okay, so not computed, and then the volume and this are all jumbled up together. Okay, so load it back into the project, overwrite it, then we have everything. So what I did there is I actually double click on this, then then it actually brings me into the room type. So this is actually like a family editing mode. So once I move this up or down, as I like it, so up or down, so then I load it back into the project. Then I actually have this. So here, not sure why my volume is not computed, but never mind. Then just remove it away lah. So usually when we look at floor plan, what we are more concerned with is the area. So how big this area is, not the volume lah. So we look more towards the area. So just now, you don't have to edit it. You by right you do not need to edit it lah. So because when we look at a room, either we want to see the meter square or the meter cube. So we don't want to see both. So just we load it back, and then yeah. So this means you go to here, click on it, then you'll be shown the properties. So edit type, and then here you just check on the show area, and you'll get this for all the room tag that we have. Okay, so give it a try. Okay, so when it comes to software, there's actually a lot of minor detail that is actually not talked about lah. So let's go to 3D view. So from this, when it comes to trying to troubleshoot and look at stuff, there's actually a lot of options that we can do. So either we go to ground level to this ground level, we can actually insert a camera view. So we go to view, go to here, you can actually essentially create a camera view to have a look at our staircase. So this is what it will look like lah, once we click and drop it over here. So if you go to here, we click on this. See, so this is 3D view. Double click on it. This should be 3D view 1. So from there, we can actually try to see what it actually look like lah, if we are looking at the here. So rename it to something that makes sense, which is, let's see, staircase view. Okay, so besides that, we can actually play around with how we can look at stuff. Let's say, for example, we look at, let's see. Okay, so we look at this graphic and visible and graphic overrides. So this one, I think is it this button? Okay, no. Mm, okay, where is it? Okay, here it's here. So it's at the top view here. Click on view, and you click on this. So either you click on this or you press on the shortcut, which is VG, which I pressed just now. So this way, we can actually see that we can actually play around with the visibility of our model. So this one is all a bit more advanced when you try to troubleshoot something and then we want to see more of our model. So we can actually uncheck this and then we click OK, and then we actually remove part of our wall so that we can see what's going on. So sometimes we don't want to see our walls because it's covering a lot of the stuff that we are trying to look at. So yeah, that's one of the idea on how we can use our this visual to filter out the component that we do not want to see. So same case, we can do so like this. So if not, what we can do is we can right click, we can hide this element. So this way, we can have a clear view of our inside of our building. Then to find back it, then we can actually click on this light bulb here, and can actually review our hidden component. So yeah, so this one we click on it, then we can just unhide it again, and we unclick here. So yeah, so this is a way lah, which we can play around with how to temporarily hide or element, or and then also to review and get it back. Okay, so with this ground level, we want to go further on how we can, let's see, how we can create a schedule from it lah. So for all this window and also the door, by right they should already be marked, but let's just tag all of them. So yeah, just give them all some tag, click OK on it, and this way all of them are tagged lah, meaning all of them we can actually create a schedule based off the tagging that we did just now. So to create a schedule, basically we can go to view and then we click on this schedule. So first off, we should tag all our component first, although this way will cost a lot of stuff lah here. But then when it comes to creating a schedule, then we have all our marks in place. So this is where, I mean, if we have if we don't want this to look uh, too much detail, we can actually duplicate the view. So here we got a clean drawing without all the marking. So we can see all, if we have component, if you have furniture inside, it will look a lot better. Okay, so try to click on the tag all, and then yeah. So let me just rename this without detailing. Clean. Okay. Okay, so we can actually create our schedule here from view, schedule, either that or we can straight away directly create it over here by just right clicking on it, and then we can create a new, let's say for this case we got doors and window. Let's say we create a new schedule and quantities for our window. Let's say for our window, and then here we will be given a lot of information. So we might want to have our assembly code, cost. Let's see. Mm, let's say level also, and then type and mark, and then count. So yeah, let's see what else, and definitely model. So we want to include a lot of info lah when it comes to creating a schedule. So assembly code might be what is from the manufacturer, the code for this window, and then the cost of each of the window. Different window will have different costs at what level. Since we only have level one, so by right it should show level one, and then the types of the window, the marks, which is showcased just now. For each of the window, they will have different mark, and then count how many window are there, and finally the model. So try to right click, create a schedule for the window, and then put all of this here. Okay, so from there we just click OK lah. So you'll be given with something like this. So we have ground level, and then we got different type here. But we notice that here the cost and the model and the assembly code are all missing. So this one by right should be something that is put in by the supplier lah. Okay, so here, if we were to actually put in the info, let's say we are the supplier lah, we actually put in the info. Let's say from the 3D view. So here, if we were to put in our info, we click on edit type. Then we have our, by right, we should be able to put in the model lah. So let's say model is it's single door. Let's see if I can edit this. Okay. So then we have our cost. Let's say this is 250. And then assembly code. I think this should be good enough. So we click OK. Then we go back to our schedule. Then by right, we should be able to see it over here. Then there's actually an assembly code. So typically for assembly code, let's see, assembly code. Okay, so assembly code, this one is typically is in terms of a so-called series of numbers, so that when we look back the supplier, they can check it back. So model, let's say, and back, okay, something like this. So I click OK. So yeah, this is usually what you will see when it comes to creating a schedule. So if you were to update this model, not just for our window lah, let's say for our doors, and then also for other furniture material, we can essentially create a schedule where we can have a over summarize of all of this that we need to put. So we notice that we have all these marks 1 to 9. So if you go to level 1, it should be shown quite clearly lah, where is our window mark. So mark 8. How come this is this? Okay, so by right it should be marked properly. Let me try it again. Say I tag all for just window. Okay. Tag then edit. Okay, so let's create another one. Let's say for example, this is for our door. So by right, it should be correct lah. The tagging. Say we have thermal resistant. Then we have mark level. Then we have this and model. So cost count. Okay. So by right, the mark which is 1 here should be the same. And then here for 6, it should be 6 here also. Not sure why the window, the marks is different from this. Can I change it? Okay, by right, all this window, the mark created should follow this. Okay, so not right. Okay, so this mark here is just trying to tell us this is I mean, in this case for this shape is telling us that this is all the same type of window. And then for the door, they are being marked correctly lah, meaning 1, 2, and 3 for different component. Okay, so I think this is enough lah for today. For the session, it's already 1 hour and 10 minutes, so I need to stop for now lah. So yeah, to create tagging for all of our component, you tag it up, and then once we tag all of this, then we can create a schedule. And then if we found that we are missing some information, we can have it fill up here. Either we are the supplier or we get a supplier to give us the information. We edit type here on the different component, and then because this is beam software, meaning it's smart enough, it's a parametrics modeling, it's smart enough to update for the entire project, which is what I have shown just now lah. Okay.